being on the same soapbox.
Actually, that's how we met. I sought you out because I needed some assistance in thinking how to best train new therapists in thinking about diagnosing their clients and also respecting their lived experiences.
And after many conversations, we found we were very similar in that regards. But where it first started for me was in elementary school. When I was learning to read, we were reading Dick and Jane and their dog Spot. See Dick run, see Jane run, and see Spot go. So we had these reading circles. And what I noticed by the 3rd grade is that sometimes there were 2 reading circles, and sometimes there were 3. There'd be a reading circle for the good readers, a reading circle for the average readers, and a reading circle for the poor readers. And what I began to realize that we were identifying ourselves with the reading circle we were a part of. Good readers, average readers, poor readers. And we were also identifying each other. Good readers, smart kids. Average readers, average. Poor readers were the slow readers, or maybe even dumb. What was sad is that through the rest of some of their educational career, their identity was tied to those reading circles.
Yeah, right, because that doesn't stop in childhood, right?
Yes.
That carries through to adulthood. So several years ago, I was working with a client who came to me and right off the bat said, "You need to know, I've got the bipolar." And I said, "Okay, so help me understand what that means." And so even if that diagnosis wasn't a fit for her, which I wasn't sure it was, it had come to define so much about her and so much of her limitations, so much of what she was capable of doing. So much so that she had 2 kids, both who were in school and both who were struggling. They were struggling to fit in, and they were struggling to meet their teachers' expectations. And I said, I wonder if it would be helpful for you to go up to the school and for you to explain some of what's going on for your family so that the school understands a little bit better why your kids are struggling so much. And she said, "Absolutely not. You can't ask that of me." And I said, "Help me understand why you feel like you can't go up to that school and advocate for your family." She said, "Because if I go up to that school and the bipolar takes over, then I'll get angry and I'll get frustrated, and the teachers will react to me, and then they'll take it out on my kids." It had come to limit so much about her life that she just decided she wasn't capable of doing that.
So she was really boxed in.
Yeah.
It reminds me of one of the first clients I saw. He was a young man, and he was sitting across from me, and he says, "I'm schizophrenic." And I thought, okay. He says, schizophrenia is in the DSM. And, of course, the DSM is a classification, and it says schizophrenia, hallucinations, delusions, disorganized thought. And I thought, that's not really helping me much right now. So I looked at him and I said, I was at a class that day that they were teaching schizophrenia, so you're going to have to tell me who you are.
And that's really what we're saying, right? That diagnosis is necessary. People have real mental illness, and diagnosis helps us understand some part of what's going on for them. It helps us tailor treatment. It helps us make sure that they get the services that they need. But it's not a sufficient way of understanding a person. So we're saying that there's this space between, right? There's a space between a place where a person says, I don't have a diagnosis, I can't be diagnosed, I'm a therapist that refuses to diagnose, and this other end of, I am my diagnosis.
Right. But it doesn't stop with formal labeling.
Right.
Look at all the informal labeling. Look what society does to us, how we're defined by society and how we defined ourselves and each other. Tall, short, fat, poor, brown, black. You're defined by your religion and even by your politics, Republicans, Democrats. So all those things are limiting us and create barriers.
Right. And so that's really what our shared soapbox is, right? That we believe you have to be really careful about labeling yourselves and labeling other people, because these labels are not a sufficient way to understand a person's lived experience.
Absolutely.
Thank you.